Hey everyone, welcome to Mega Maniacs. And I was off last week for vacation, and it was much needed and um, uh, very refreshing. And I am glad to be back this week, although I am not happy to be reporting some of the things I am reporting tonight. But again, this is something that I believe that not only do the students and staff and congregation members at World Harvest Church and Valor Christian College need to know, but I believe everyone needs to know, and we need to continue to shed light in these dark spaces. So I want to share a few updates before I kind of dive in, because there is a lot of information that I'm going to share. In particular, one document that's sort of long. But Nick, who was the last gentleman on the podcast that I interviewed, he texted me and let me know that as of last week, I believe he had $780 that had been donated to his handicapped accessible van. And I know another $100 got sent as well. So $880 so far for Nick's handicapped accessible van. And I just wanted to say thank you, because all of those donations came in after he was on the podcast, and I believe he attributes all of that to the Mega Maniacs family. And so I'm saying thank you from myself, of course, but also thank you from Nick. And I'm going to sort of try to keep an eye on the comments section, but I don't want to get too distracted. And you guys know me, I can go off on some rabbit trails. So I am going to start off tonight to give some updates on the physical and spiritual decay at Valor Christian College, specifically the black mold situation. So we do know several things. I have some video, I have some things to show, but we do know, and I know this from my own experience, because I've been making the phone calls. Bill Williams is the code enforcement supervisor for the health department in Columbus, and he has someone that is assigned to the area that Valor Christian College is in. Now, I don't have a recent update. I don't know if they've been out there yet, but I know that they have been calling and trying to get in touch with either Scott Camp or Darren Endicott to get in and do an inspection. Now, I don't know if that has happened, but I know that the phone calls are being made, and I believe he or Janae, I believe is the young lady's name, are just being sent to voicemail. So hopefully they'll just do a surprise visit, and they can do an inspection, a surprise inspection at Valor in those dorms. I also know that the Ohio Department of Labor has received several complaints as well for unsafe working conditions. And they have also been calling and trying to get in contact with the leadership at Valor Christian College. So, with those updates, I want to show a few things. So, I'm going to just show this company, because this is the company that was called to come out and do the mold inspection. Okay, and I'm saying that very loosely because I know that one person showed up, and I do have a video that I'm going to show in just a moment. But one person that appears to be from Intertech did show up. He had one briefcase. He did a walkthrough of Valor Christian College with Darren and Andrew and I believe Malia is her name. And they actually only looked at the areas that the college had already picked out for them to look at. This person from Intertech did not have any devices that he took out. He did not look further past the cosmetic things that have been done. And my understanding is that he said that the place was filthy and they needed to call in a company to come clean it. But that was where they left it. And I'm getting ready to show some videos, kind of the before and after Intertech had been there, so you can see the differences. But we know, based on Intertech's website, which I looked at, I called them, I reached out to them to let them know that they needed to do a thorough inspection. Of course, I didn't hear back from anybody, but they have devices and equipment that can test um, the air quality. They can test to see if there is moisture behind walls that may not be seen with the naked eye. But none of that was done. And so we really need the health department and the code enforcement inspectors to go out and really do more of a thorough investigation. And I also forgot to mention, I did speak with someone at one of the news stations, and they seemed to be very interested in all of the information I was providing and doing a story on this. But now we sit here and nothing has been done. So, I don't know if that it lends credence to a lot of these different people and places sort of being in the back pocket of the Parsleys or World Harvest Church, if their reach does in fact extend that far, or if this is just a sign that we need to continue to press on. So, which we're going to do anyways. So this is the first thing I want to show. So as you recall, on June 30th, myself and Everett went to Columbus. We interviewed Nathan, who was on my podcast and Everett's podcast. And we actually went to World Harvest Church. We, received the letters that we have been banned from the property, whatever. And then on July 1st, there was a meeting that was held with students. They sent out an email saying it was from the desk of the president, which we know is not true because Scott Camp was not even on campus at that time. So we have video. This first video I'm going to show you is from July 4th in that proximity. And then the next video I'm going to show you is from July 10th because they spent about a week of doing some major cleanup, and in some areas they didn't do a very good job. So this is the video that was around July 4th. As you can see, it does look like there's some fresh caulking there, but that, there's a lot of mold, and we've seen the behind the tiles as well. I did not add that today because I'm pretty sure that the reason why my system kept crashing the last time is because I had too much media and too many things open. And so I don't want to do that tonight, so I'm not going to. So now you just saw that video from around July 4th. Now here is a video from July 10th. It is time-stamped. So same bathrooms. Looks like they've been doing some cleaning and replacing some caulking, doing a pretty good job in certain areas, but then as you can see, they're getting a little sloppy with it in other areas. And This is all to prepare for the technician that came out from Intertech. Now, I'm just going to show a very quick clip of this gentleman that came out from Intertech, and then I have one more video to show before we sort of move on. So there's the guy. If you just saw that, he was at that pickup truck, and oh, I think there's more to that. Let me play it again. Okay. So here's the guy from Intertech. He's at his pickup truck. He's you're going to see him in just a second grab this briefcase, and my understanding is he didn't even open this briefcase while he was in the dorms at Valor. So after this gentleman from Intertech was there, and he told them, like, hey, the place is filthy, you need to get some cleanup or hire a company, actually. Well, guess who gets to do the cleanup when things like this are discovered? Yes, some staff, but also many of the students and summer interns that were still at the dorms are the ones that are doing a lot of this work. And so here's a video of that as well. So you'll see I don't believe there's any audio, but you're going to see that they're doing some painting, they're doing some cleaning, they are painting over the mold stains, the black mold stains that are on the ceilings and on the walls and throughout the dorms and the bathrooms. So along with these, cover-ups, I guess is what we're cosmetic cover-ups, it was what we're going to call them. They've also added these, and these are called Active Pure AP 500s, and I'm going to just give a little bit of information on this. So in our continued investigation into the unsafe living conditions at Valor, we discovered these air purification units, specifically Active Pure AP 500s. This is a wall-mounted device, while marketed as an air and surface purifier, capable of reducing airborne viruses, bacteria, and yes, even mold spores. It does not address the root of the issue. Let me be very clear. This device does not remediate black mold, nor does it remediate black mold that is growing behind walls, under flooring, or in HVAC systems. It appears that in an attempt to manage symptoms without dealing with the source of the contamination, the AP 500 is essentially a cosmetic bandage, just like everything else on a potentially life-threatening issue. If mold is present in the structure of the building, no air purifier, no matter how advanced, can replace professional licensed mold remediation. And I had to make this as a slide, but this is directly from the AP 500 website. If I can find my slide here, here we go. So according to Active Pure and Advanced Clean Air Solutions, Active Pure technology has been shown to reduce airborne and surface mold spores and contaminants. It is not a solution for eliminating established black mold growing within the structure of the building. And as scripture says in Luke 11:39, you Pharisees clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside you are full of greed and wickedness. It's not enough to clean the air if the walls are rotting from the inside out. Students and staff deserve more than superficial fixes. They deserve safe, healthy spaces, and they deserve the truth. So now we're going to now talk about what I like to call the vanishing president, Scott Camp's absence from the campus. So, Valor Christian College President Scott Camp, which he's not been there very long, has been absent since before Dominion Camp meeting from the campus of Valor Christian College. Proof that the communication that was sent and emailed to students definitely did not come from Scott. And this has been confirmed by a source in the president's cabinet. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more in just a moment. Scott did reemerge last week, reportedly going on an apology tour across the campus. There have been no statements, no accountability, or any plan presented. And so, does this signal a crisis management, damage control, or deflection? John 10:12, the hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Up until the black mold incident, I would have said that it appears that Scott Camp does in fact care about the students, although him and I have not always had the best interactions because he was kind of trolling my podcast for a while, and Everett's as well. But he did end up apologizing for that and saying that he would not do that anymore. And he has kept his word. He has not done that. But when you hear about these issues with the black mold and kids getting hospitalized and there being other issues, and then there are some other things that we're going to discuss in just a moment, it makes you question, does he really care about the kids? Are his hands completely tied and he does not have any options to do anything else but to go along or to get along? But then the question is, what about integrity? What about saying, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, then I am leaving? Because as a new appointed president of the college, if he were to submit his resignation or leave, then not only will the college have to give an account for that, but ABHE, who's the accreditation body, would definitely be reaching out to him to find out why his tenure was so short and why he's leaving. And I believe in that situation that he would, in fact, tell the truth. But the question is, why haven't we gotten there yet? So now, and sorry, I'm kind of like bouncing, but I want to make sure that I get all of this in without keeping you here all night, because what I'm getting ready to show you is actually mind-blowing and very damning evidence against not only the college and World Harvest Church, but also, unfortunately, some of it against Scott Camp himself and some of the people that they are hiring within the college and actually the church. And we already know that to be true. So I'm going to share my screen now. Because I want to give an introduction, a quick introduction to the person that wrote and sent this affidavit. So I'm going to scroll up. This is David Bumgardner. And David, as you're going to hear, he's not only a journalist, but he has been a pastoral intern and has gone to school to be a pastor and a minister. And as you can see, he is from Texas, and he was actually roommates with Scott Camp's son in college. David is, I believe, only 25 or 26 years old. And So he is very familiar with Scott Camp. And until this most recent situation, I believe that he did not think that Scott would do anything that that he was not operating in integrity. And I show this because I want to set the precedence for not only how well David knows Scott and his family, but he has been very loyal to Scott. And when Scott received this position or accepted this position at Valor Christian College, Scott Camp reached out to David almost immediately, offering him a job at Valor Christian College. And so now I'm going to make this as big as possible, but we're going to kind of go through each area unless it's not pertinent whatsoever, and discuss the different issues, and that will kind of lead us into other areas. But this is a sworn document, a sworn statement, and it has also been notarized. Now, we haven't gotten to it yet, but you're going to see a couple of areas that have been redacted. And that is to protect the people that have given information to David, very credible sources that have confirmed a lot of information. So, the first part of this affidavit, and as you can see, August 3rd, 2025. So, very recent, just a couple of days ago. So, he's saying that he's a resident of Ohio, that he's sound mind and own free will. He has knowledge of the facts herein. He says in March of 2025, Dr. Scott Camp extended a verbal offer to me over the phone to relocate to Columbus, Ohio, and serve as his chief of staff. And keep that in mind, that title specifically, chief of staff and special assistant in his new role as president at Valor Christian College. Now, David also shared with me, and I don't believe it's in this document, but David shared with me that also in March 2025, that Scott met with him and showed him, you guessed it, Mega Maniacs podcast, and said, and I quote, "The daughter is a problem," talking about Ashton Parsley. And this was at a coffee shop in Texas. So he's aware that there are some issues here, but at this point, I think that Scott believed, and maybe he still does, that he could make a positive impact at Valor and turn the college around. But little does he know, he does not have really any say in what goes on there. So in March 2025, I accepted, so this is David saying, I accepted the position with the understanding I would be living on the Valor Christian campus without charge as part of the benefits package for my new role. I also expected to be compensated fairly and reasonably at a rate comparable to what I had made as a chaplain in Oklahoma, at or around $23 to $30 an hour for my work as the special assistant to the president. My responsibilities would include serving as the president's personal research assistant, helping him complete his doctoral dissertation, assisting faculty with various administrative tasks, participating in public relations and media activities, and other duties, and acting as a primary advisor on the presidential cabinet. I was also informed that there was an intention to name me as dorm pastor for the fall of 2025 semester, with the provision of a renovated private apartment within the dormitory, which is laughable because these things have not been renovated or even painted, to my knowledge, until most recently being exposed for this black mold issue. In April 2025, I assisted Scott and Gina In their move to Columbus, I helped them place many of their home items in storage and pack their cars. On April 6, 2025, I arrived on campus of Valor Christian College, World Harvest Church, to begin the onboarding process, which involved fingerprinting and background checks. On April 7th, I met with WHC Human Resources Coordinator, and this young lady is like a work study student, and she informed David that he would be serving as a recruitment associate at the rate of $15 an hour, and that he would be charged for his temporary accommodations in the dormitories at a rate of $184.62 every 2-week pay period, for a monthly total of $369.24. Now, how did they come up with that rate? I don't know. I was also told that my employment was contingent upon receipt of my signature on a preliminary non-disclosure agreement and pastoral non-competing clause. Now, I'm going to stop just for a second, because this is noteworthy for several reasons. Now, I don't know that David knew that this was as noteworthy as it is, and that's why I'm discussing it. But when I started Mega Maniacs in my first season, I actually have a episode that is titled Bait and Switch, because during just my tenure, there were at least 4 different people and or families that were promised a certain job title and a certain wage. They moved across the country, or at least several states, but some of them moved across the country. And when they showed up, they were told, and usually it was me breaking the news to them, that they were serving actually in a different capacity than what they had agreed to. And oftentimes the pay was different, but definitely the positions were different. So that is very noteworthy, and maybe I will still do that episode. So he goes on to say, in normal circumstances, I would not have accepted these conditions, as they did not match the previously agreed upon verbal arrangement I had made with the president. Seeing, however, that I was homeless, recently relocated, and in immediate need of both employment and shelter, I signed the aforementioned documents and completed the onboarding process. Afterward, I called the president to relay my skepticism and dismay at the arrangement. The president assured me that this was merely a 90-day temporary arrangement before Valor Christian College and World Harvest Church would offer me a package reflecting what I am worth. In addition to my full-time duties as a recruitment associate working Monday through Friday, approximately 9 to 6, I also served the president in a direct administrative role. Among these responsibilities included the following: creating a proof of concept and original theological research to launch an independent, peer-reviewed, open access, and free journal of charismatic Pentecostal theology, creating and editing institutional copy for both internal and external communications, and providing strategic counsel in the areas of public relations, institutional advancement, and academic administration, nearly all of which occurred outside of my standard recruitment duties and saw me work beyond my remunerated hours, capped at 40 hours per week per VCC policy, meaning that much of this work that I was completing was without pay, including and especially the proof of concept and original theological research to be featured in the journal, which I estimate to have taken about 120 hours. So it's not just the students, which I think we've already established that, but it's not just the work study students that are taken advantage of. And I will also say that if and when you complain about working, over and above your hours, then they guilt trip you into, well, this is a ministry and we can't pay you as much money and you're doing your work for the Lord, so you shouldn't be complaining. These are the guilt trips and the fear tactics that they continue to use. And knowing that David was in this predicament may have pushed the envelope even further for them to try to take advantage of him. That's my estimation and in my opinion. So, along with these duties, the president made a private arrangement with me to help him complete his doctor of ministry dissertation. The matter was especially exigent for him because while he holds an honorary doctorate, that's why I'm not calling him Dr. Camp. He had never completed an earned doctoral program. I provided private assistance to the president in which he paid me cash for a total of $1,500, paid to me in three sums of $500 throughout May, June, and July. In April, I didn't mean to do that. In April, I submitted my first resignation letter because the position did not meet my financial needs, particularly concerning my bills and debts. As a seminary student, I was facing tuition costs alongside my obligation. Sorry, guys. Along with my obligation for insurance payments and his car payment. And he informed Scott that he would need to be adequately compensated for the significant amount of work, which should align with my academic qualifications and experience in the local church. The president requested that I reconsider my resignation, especially given that I had no other viable employment or living alternatives at the time. I agreed to stay on staff. In May 2025, while living in the dormitory and through daily interactions with its male student residents, I heard from multiple students that there were allegations that Ashton Parsley, daughter of Valor Christian College chancellor and World Harvest Church senior pastor Rod Parsley, had been sexually involved with Valor students. These allegations also existed publicly on social media, podcasts, live streams, and other online programs. The president had informed me in March and April 2025 that these allegations existed and that they were, in his words, a problem, which I already mentioned that. In May 2025, a student who also served as the president's personal intern informed me of allegations made in the media that Chancellor and World Harvest Senior Pastor Rod Parsley had walked around naked in the presence of employees and staff in both his on-campus residence and, sorry, my dog. Quit, Twix. So I'm not going to talk. What? So in late April, I offered comfort to the student, encouraged him to stay close to the president, telling the student he was a man of integrity. In late April or early May 2025, the president relayed to me that he was intent on hiring Dr. Alvin Reed, former professor of evangelism at the Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary in Wake Forest, North Carolina. Upon a search, I found a press release dated 2018, which I'm going to show, published in the Baptist press, stating that Dr. Reed has resigned from his position at the Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary for undisclosed reasons. Through a Facebook search and through cross-referencing data I found online, I learned that Dr. Reed had undergone a divorce and remarriage since his resignation in 2018. The combination of lack of information about his resignation and his subsequent remarriage struck me as both odd and concerning, and led me to believe there was some sort of moral or sexual impropriety. In May 2025, I privately and on my own accord contacted That's the part that's redacted, but I will tell you, very credible and someone that had direct knowledge of this information because they know Alvin Reed. They worked with Alvin Reed. So he contacted to inquire about Dr. Reed's background. And this person informed David that his understanding of Dr. Reed's resignation was that Dr. Reed had been caught in a sin of transactional immorality, i.e., the solicitation of prostitutes. He advised me to advise the president that hiring Dr. Reed was not a wise choice and could potentially create undue attention and controversy for the college. In May 2025, I, meaning David, informed the president of my skepticism towards Dr. Reed and shared with him that I knew he had committed adulteries through soliciting prostitutes. In June 2025, the president directed me to pick him up from the airport along with Dr. Alvin Reed, who was present to teach a summer intensive. As I drove both the president and Dr. Reed from the airport to Valor campus, the president expressed dismay to Dr. Reed that he felt he did not have any real administrative or institutional authority, including the ability to hire and fire his own staff. Moreover, the president shared with Dr. Reed and me that while he had been gone preaching a crusade, Rod Parsley and World Harvest and Valor Christian College Chief Financial Officer Andrew Sturden had convened the board of trustees to address the college's financial difficulties. Mr. Sturden proposed selling the old WHC property on Wright Road, also known as the warehouse, by World Harvest and Valor staff, to Valor Christian College, even though VCC operates as a subsidiary of World Harvest Church. Mr. Sturden further proposed that after selling the property to Valor, the college could lease back the warehouse to the church. The board summarily approved this recommendation without the president's knowledge or authorization. The president lamented to Dr. Reed and me that the college, which was already in a difficult financial situation, now had the responsibility of an $8,000 to $9,000 mortgage for a building it was not allowed to use. So it sounds like there's financial issues not only within World Harvest Church, but also Valor Christian College. And it sounds like they're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And I don't know how you get ahead that way, but not only did the church sell without the president's knowledge the warehouse to Valor Christian College so that they could get this $8,000 to $9,000 mortgage payment off of their books, and now Valor is responsible to pay for this mortgage for a building that it does not use. But they're going behind the president's back to convene the board, which are all people appointed by the Parsleys, by the way. And now they have this mortgage payment for a building that they cannot use. In June 2025, so now he starts talking about the situation with Lily, who was the summer intern that was underage, that inhaled the black mold spores. So I'm not going to read through this. It's been on the screen. I'm not going to read through it just for the sake of time, but I will point out a couple of things. The students relayed to him that this situation happened and that Sharice Conley, Director of Resident Life, and Jimmy McFadden, former Dean of Students, the students were separated and in their words, interrogated after this incident with Lily. And the minor student alleges she was denied her inhaler and forced to sit in her room while she was questioned about the incident. Several of the involved students were either dismissed or left, given the institutional failure, including the failure to call EMS and police. In June 2025, following the above incident, a student who had left campus but remained enrolled online, which was Nathan, received a communication from Lakeisha, assistant to the provost. Ms. Ray stated that the student needed to come to Valor and pick up his final check from his work-study program. Upon his arrival, the student was detained by a Garver asset protection officer who, according to Nathan, identified himself as law enforcement. The officer ran the student's driver's license, directed him to step out of his friend's vehicle, and informed him that he was banned from the campus. When the student attempted to explain that he had been invited to the campus to pick up his check, the security officer said it did not matter and he was not welcome on the campus. I'm not going to go into the rest of that because it's sort of a repeat of information, but this is also very noteworthy, and we're going to discuss this a little bit more. In June 2025, the president informed me that, in his words, 2 female students in the dormitory had taken a trip to Lebanon. Upon asking what he meant, he explained, "Have you ever heard the joke about the old church grandmother who asked the pastor to pray for her granddaughter because she turned into one of those Lebanese, i.e., a lesbian?" After understanding the joke, I advised the president to discipline both students for violating the VCC code of conduct. Still, he then told me that the encounter was not consensual. A female student had gotten into another female student's bed and made both unwanted sexual advances and touching, which in turn, and in his words, freaked out the other female student, who said, "I'm going to tell." I explained to the president that the incident may have met the criteria of assault and that it would be wise to contact law enforcement or, at the very least, expel the offending student, to which the president replied, "I know, but I just don't have the heart to kick her out." In late June and early July 2025, the president asked me to undergo reading, evaluating, and rewriting the Valor Academic Catalog and Student Handbook. He also asked me to undertake an accreditation compliance analysis. This work was completed on my own time and apart from independent remuneration. Annotated copies of the handbook and catalog were provided to the president, along with a copy of my accreditation analysis. Upon learning of the college's dire situation concerning its board composition, financial position, and non-compliant policies, I tendered my resignation. I filed a formal complaint with the Association of Biblical Higher Education, which is ABHE, VCC's accrediting body. I declare, and this is the end where he signs. So I want to spend just a little bit more time now on this this issue with not only Alvin Reed, but this unreported sexual advances by this student. So let me share my screen again. So, because Alvin Reed, at the very least, has been to teach some classes over the summer, I believe before Dominion Camp meeting at Valor, and for possibly some CHN pastors. So this is the article, and there's several. If you type in Alvin Reed resignation, you will find plenty of information on his resignation. Now, of course, he doesn't go into the actual reason he resigned, but up until this point, he seemed to have a very good reputation within the Baptist movement. But he said he resigned for personal and spiritual issues, as you can see here. And he was the senior professor of evangelism and student ministry. And he said, I resigned from teaching and public ministry to address personal and spiritual issues in my life. Well, that those personal and spiritual issues, were him soliciting prostitutes, and paying for sex, and his wife of 32 years divorced him. He has since remarried. And again, when David had this conversation with Scott of his worry about Alvin being hired and or brought to Valor Christian College, Scott justified hiring Alvin because Scott said, and I quote, "I've known Alvin a long time, and Alvin called me the day after he did it and confessed to me," talking about confessing to Scott. And this seems to be an ongoing pattern of ignoring red flags in leadership. We know David Amos is another red flag. He not only has committed adultery at least once, but I think we know of several times committing adultery. In his first marriage, broke up over it, but he also was sexually harassing young female workers at World Harvest Church, and he was initially let go, all appearances, but then put on a sabbatical and then brought back in a different capacity. But they did not send him to counseling. They did not terminate him forever for sexually harassing this other staff member. And to my knowledge, she was still working there when they brought him back. And several of the staff members quit when they brought him back because they knew that he had sexually harassed at least one young lady. But my reports is that it was several. Now we have Alvin Reed. We've heard about Terry Kelly and several other people that they've had in leadership positions at Valor Christian College and World Harvest Church. So now with the unreported sexual advances and harassment, which, is a silent cover-up, if you will, Scott Camp did not take any legal action. He did not take any disciplinary action, and he did not take any Title IX action. The victim was silenced, and there was no justice served. And I want to show just a quick excerpt from the Valor Christian College handbook. Now, this talks about suspension and expulsion. Now, this part that I highlighted, any threats to the opposite sex. So maybe that's why they didn't address it, because it was same sex. But I think that whether it's opposite or same sex, that it needs to be addressed. Any threats to the opposite sex, physical and or verbal, will be governed by the Title IX sexual harassment federal governmental law. Any violation of those laws will be adequate cause for immediate dismissal from the college. Students determined to be in violation of Title IX will not be allowed to reapply back to the college. Students in violation of Title IX federal law will vacate the college within 24 hours of being given notice of such violation. So I guess at Valor Christian College, as long as it's same sex, that you can harass and put your hands on and crawl into bed with other people. And even when it is unwanted and the person has a problem with it, there is still no one that is protecting these victims. And that's why I said what I said at the beginning, that before all of these issues, even though my encounters were not always positive with Scott Camp, based on my conversations with students and other people, they believed that Scott Camp, at the very least, cared about the students and doing the right thing and having some integrity. But he said, I don't have the heart to kick her out. We just need to tell her she can't do that and she needs to have self-control. That's a direct quote from Scott Camp when he found out about this interaction or harassment of this female student. So this was a lot of information, and I'm going to try to take a look at the comments, but we have to expose darkness. We have to demand that light be shed in these dark areas. We need to demand better of leadership, and that there at least there is some integrity, and that these organization or religious businesses, they are not even following their own policies and procedures, as you can see from their own handbook, that they are not taking care of the victims and making sure that there is justice. And I encourage anyone else that wants to come forward, even if it's not on this platform, if you need help getting put in contact with the right people, or not sure of what to do, I am happy, and so are plenty of other people, to kind of point you in the right direction. And World Harvest Church and Valor Christian College, along with all church and educational institution, cannot protect sin. They cannot protect perpetrators. They need to stand up and be a voice for the voiceless and for these victims. And that is about all for me, you guys. I was going to just finish with a verse, Proverbs 31:8, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. And I appreciate everyone so much for tuning in. You guys are so consistent for being and showing up for these podcasts and for me, and I appreciate it so much. And thank you for continuing to like, subscribe, and share. And hopefully we will start having some more positive updates for accountability and justice for these victims and for the students and staff that are being really forced in unspeakable conditions. So thank you guys for tuning in again, and I will see you next week for a new episode of Mega Maniacs. Have a good night.